Hi, this is Mr. Ham, Mr. O'Neill, and Mr. Smith, and today we're going to talk about Kali Linux and our toolkit. Our topics will include Kali Linux Introduction, Toolsets, Kali Linux Alternatives, Lesson Learned, and our conclusion. What is Kali Linux? First released in 2006 with the name Backtrack Linux, Kali Linux was developed by Offensive Security to address the limited supply of free penetrating tools. Kali Linux in itself is not the penetration tools, but rather an operating system which contains free tools written by the respective authors. Kali Linux comes from the distribution branch called Debian, a Linux OS that was created by Ian for Debi, and it is a cousin to other branches of Debian, including Ubuntu. Kali Linux contains a collection of security and forensic tools to aid in penetration testing and security assessment. What is wget and grep, and why were they chosen? I decided to use wget and grep during my testing to see if it was possible to take advantage of a HTML vulnerability on a web server. wget was developed by Hervé in 1996. This tool is used to download files online, and it can also be used to web crawl through a website. grep was developed by Ken in 1973. This tool is used to perform regular expressions on a file. Both wget and grep can be used in recursive mode, meaning that wget can follow links on a website, while grep can be used to go through all the files in a directory. The tools were chosen in order to automate the task of downloading and searching through large troves of files from the OWASP Apache 2 web server. Testing. My goal is to see if it was possible to take advantage of a website using unsanitized user input forms. I began by testing each tool on Kali Linux Virtual Machine. I used OpenWASP Virtual Machine's Apache 2 server as the test subject. I was able to use wget followed by a series of options to retrieve all of the files on the Apache 2 web server. I was able to use grep followed by a series of options to search through the files that I had downloaded in my previous command. wget and grep are tools that can be used to accomplish large bulk tasks. However, they are complicated to understand and require knowledge of the Linux command line. Finally, I was successful in accomplishing my goal of having the vulnerable guestbook.php file perform an unintentional task. This is the vulnerable guestbook.php file that I've created and placed on the OpenWASP Broken Webs app virtual machine, Apache 2 server. Note the quoted text, fname. These are variables that are read by the get statement in the PHP block above. The fname variable is passed as a Linux command and is executed on the server. When it is performed intentionally, the input from the variable should be written to guestbook.txt on the root of the web server var www. This is my HTML vulnerability shell script that I placed onto the Kali OpenVAS virtual machine. In there, you'll see the IP address 192.168.115. This is the OpenWASP Broken Web Apps virtual machine's IP address. The script here recursively downloads all content that it can find from the web server, including index.html or PHP, and, if it can find it, guestbook.php. The grep command performs a recursive operation on all of the files, index.html, guestbook.php, etc., and searches for quoted text. It then outputs the results to two other commands, cut and sed. This cleans up the code, cut does, and sed performs an operation that changes some of the text from the original grep command so that it looks like a URL. The output is then saved to output.txt so that the file looks like a bunch of URLs that contain CGI. For example, google.com $s equals text or something. Then wget opens the file, that's what I is input, and performs the wget operation again, downloading all of the content from each of the URLs that were produced by the grep command.
Nessus features. The Nessus scanning engine uses plugins to detect new vulnerabilities. With Tenable, it pushes plugins that contain the latest information to customer systems within 24 hours after a vulnerability has gone public. Because new vulnerabilities appear nearly every day, customers receive daily plugin feeds to stay current. Nessus does not include penetration testing capabilities, but administrators can integrate. Nessus scan results with popular penetration testing tools such as Metasploit, Core Impact, and Immunity Canvas to provide insights into risk without the need of exploitation. Nessus example. In this example, we see that we have a list of live results scanned. They have a category list of optical to low and information. When you click on the information, it provides a list of ways to prevent the issue from happening again. This applies to all types, optical, high, low, and information as well. It does a very good and simple way of having everything completely done within Nessus. Administration and management. Administrators of Nessus Cloud and Nessus Manager can deploy endpoint agents, which allow for offline scanning and the collection of scanned results when a mobile device reconnects to the corporate network. The agents also allow Nessus to scan devices for malware. Nessus Cloud and Nessus Manager easily integrate with CyberArk for credential management. With patch management systems such as those from Dell, IBM, Microsoft, and Red Hat, as well as mobile device management systems like those from AirWatch, Mobile Iron, Apple, Microsoft, and others. All Nessus vulnerability scanner products work with the RESTful API to integrate Nessus into an organization's overall workflow.
Hello, classmates. What we're going to talk about today is Nmap. Nmap is a network mapper. That's actually what Nmap stands for short. It's an open source tool that's used for vulnerability scanning, port scanning, and also used to create topologies for your network. As system administrators, they use it a lot to scan their networks and find resources that they may not be aware of or resources that they're not using anymore. It's a great tool to utilize. Some great examples of the things that you may be able to do in Nmap and some of the commands you can use is a ping scan, which would be nmap dash s capital P, a port scan, which would be running nmap dash top dash ports, followed by the host IP address you would like to run it against. Detecting services, which would be nmap dash S capital V and the local host that you would like to run it against, the IP address. And then the next one I will utilize is CVE detection, which would be nmap dash capital P N dash script space vulnerabilities and the local host IP address.
Alternatives to Kali Linux. There are many alternatives to Kali Linux, each with their own advantage and disadvantage. The team decided to look at Blackbox Linux. Blackbox is a Ubuntu-based penetration testing and security assessment Linux distribution. It was first released in April 2012 and has very good reviews from 18 reviewers on distrowatch.com. Comparing Kali to Blackbox. Both of these distributions are from the same distribution branch, Debian, and Blackbox shares a lot of the same tools and commands that are used in Kali. However, while Kali can run on a lot of different architectures, such as ARML, Blackbox currently will only run on x86 and AMD 32-bit. Additionally, Kali first came out in 2004, while Blackbox came out in 2014. This is not to say that the team feels that one is better than the other, just that they are different. Lesson learned. We have learned a lot about Linux, Kali, and Blackbox. And while there are a lot of helpful documentations about Kali on the platform and online, these distributions have something unique that makes them special. And that is the communities that back these distributions. By utilizing these community services, a lot of the initial frustration that each of my team members would have been relieved. To help support anyone that would like help using and learning about Kali, I have supplied a list of different support channels, from mailing lists to Discord channels on this slide. I hope you enjoyed our presentation.
ZenMap is just like Nmap, but in a GUI instance, a graphical user interface. It's a network scanner tool that gives you a picture of what you're actually scanning outside of the command line. You'll be able to scan for network devices, look at ports, look at the host, and actually be able to draw and configure a circle topology based on all the hosts that was found and compare them to previous topology images and current topology images. I believe ZenMap is a very useful tool and powerful tool.